Welcome to the Creative Cast. I'm your host, Tammy Munson, podcast producer, coach, and CEO of Wildfire Creative. Are you struggling to grow and monetize your podcast? Want to learn more about starting your own podcast? Are you looking for the secrets behind the business side of podcasting? Well, friends, you are in the right place. Here on the Creative Cast, I'm going to be sharing all the tips and tricks on all things podcasting for the faith-based podcaster. Each episode is going to contain powerful information to help you get started with your own podcast, learn the secrets of building a business, and of course, growing and monetizing your podcast. All right, y'all, without further ado, let's get started. Hey friend, and welcome to another episode of the Creative Cast. So, like I said last week, I am on break. So for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be re-airing your favorite episodes. So this week, I am just returning from my trip to Texas and Florida. It was so good to get away with my husband and got to see some friends, and also ended up at Magnolia in Waco while we were in Texas. And then later that week, I got to spend a few days with some fellow creatives, amazing women at a retreat that included a day at Universal, which I had never been. So I rode all the roller coasters. And if you follow me on Instagram, you're definitely going to see me riding all the roller coasters. Today, I'm re-airing an episode that I did with my friend Kirsten Vossler about a year ago. So in this episode, Kirsten and I answer the question that I get asked tremendously all the time. I want to launch a podcast. What do I need to know about doing that? So if that's you right now, you definitely want to tune in for this one. So without further ado, here's my interview with Kirsten. Now, for today, I'm really excited about this episode as I am joined by my very special guest and new friend, Kirsten Vossler of the Rejoicing in Motherhood podcast. Now, on today's show, Kirsten and I talk about motherhood, her being a mom of 8. Yes, I said 8 kids. 5 of them are homeschooled. We talk about her podcast a little bit, how she got started, some of the lessons learned. So Kirsten is a wife, a mother of 8, a homeschool teacher to 5, and if that wasn't enough, she recently added podcaster to her growing list of titles. I just cannot wait for you to hear this interview, so let's just jump right into it. Here is my interview with Kirsten. So, Kirsten, I was looking at your IG the other day, and I absolutely love it. And I saw that you homeschool all of your kids, and you've got how many kids?
I have 8.
Wow.
Yes. And they're not all school age. So I homeschool 5. And then we have 3 toddlers. We have a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old that are the little trail-ons.
That's a lot of work. And then homeschooling on top of them. So what are the ages of the kiddos?
So my oldest is 12. And then I have 12, 11, 9, 8, 6, 3, 2, 1.
Oof.
Yeah. And a few of them are going to have birthdays pretty soon. So we're going to adjust some of those ages, but
and then you're moving on top of it. You're getting ready to close on a house.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. It's been kind of a wild fall and winter with just a lot of moving pieces, literally moving pieces. Been exciting. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you manage all that?
With a lot of grace from God.
Yeah.
Really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And the other thing is that when you have kids, usually you have them one at a time-ish. Mine are all singletons. I don't have any twins. But so you kind of you get one and you kind of figure that out a little bit. And then you have another one. And then you go, okay, now I can do 2. And then you have 3 and your mind explodes. And then you have 4 and things kind of mellow out a little bit. So you just keep adding one at a time and God just keeps giving you more and more grace. And Yeah. So my husband and I both just really felt like homeschooling was going to be right for us.
Uh-huh.
I was actually homeschooled all the way through school from
Oh,
kindergarten all the
wow.
way through 12th
Okay.
grade.
Perfect.
Yeah. And my husband had some homeschooling experience and was in school part of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we both were familiar with it. And we just really felt like that was what we were supposed to do. So I went even into parenthood, just kind of knowing and feeling like I was probably going to homeschool. And
Sure.
then just as my kids got to be school age, we were like, yes, this is definitely what we're doing.
Yeah.
And so we've just been learning as we go. And it's honestly in my case, it's very flexible. It's very fluid. We have curriculum that we follow, but sometimes we extend longer in the summer, or sometimes we take different breaks than the regular school year. So
Right.
I do love that about homeschooling, is that we have a lot of flexibility with my husband's job. Sometimes he has opportunities to take vacations at like odd
Mm-hmm.
times of the year, and we
Yeah.
can totally do that. So we can take like a vacation in February instead of July or something, or
Right.
October, so it's nice to be able to just have the flexibility to be able to do that when we need to. And then we can always fill in the school time that we need any other time. So,
Yeah, that's really awesome. When we were active duty military, we had several military friends of ours that homeschooled their kids because they never knew when a vacation was going to get approved, or if there was going to be a deployment where they had to take a trip early or late or whatever. So they did have that flexibility built into their, without having to take the kids out of school and all of the stuff that comes with. You've got all this stuff going on, you've got all these things, and then you said, I'm going to do a podcast.
yes. Yes, I know. It was like the craziest timing, to be honest. I started really seriously thinking about it kind of mid 2020. I had joined Called Creatives, which is where we met.
Yes.
And yeah, so I was in Called Creatives, and I originally signed up there thinking like, I'm just going to write a lot of stuff. I love to write. And so I thought, I'm just going to be a writer. And then I also thought I'd probably like to do a podcast on the side, something with podcasting, because I love listening to podcasts so much. I
Yeah.
listen to them constantly. And then, so it was mid 2020. And I just was like, you know what? My lifestyle does not really support having long periods of time to sit down and write creatively. I just don't have the time for that in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I was pregnant with my eighth at that point, and I just have so much on my heart to share.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, writing isn't super practical right now. And I love talking.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe I should try podcasting. And it was really cool because I heard a podcasting and marketer talking about how important it is when you're going to be a podcaster to have a real audience, like real live people that that you're able to help, or that you're able to address, who you can like kind of real life practice,
Mm-hmm.
where you're not just talking about stuff, but you're actually like helping somebody in real life. And I realized, well, I have that. Like I have other young moms who are constantly asking me questions, who I'm kind of helping with things, who I'm, encouraging or inspiring in their lives. And I have the real life people. I just need a microphone,
Right.
essentially. And
Yes.
so even though I was like, I told my husband, I said, this seems like the most ridiculous timing, pregnant with 8, and like homeschooling all 5. And what am I even thinking? But I said, I
Right.
just have so much confidence. This is what I'm supposed to do right now.
Yeah.
And so we made it work. And I launched Rejoicing in Motherhood is my podcast name. I launched Rejoicing in Motherhood in May of 2021. So it's been nearly a year. And
Awesome.
it's been just such a wonderful experience. I had no idea going into it how much life it was actually going to give me.
Yes.
I am such an extrovert. And I didn't know if talking to a microphone rather than a bunch of people was going
Right.
to do it, if I was going to be discouraged by it or just frustrated by it. But I found that it gave me so much energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most of the time I record at night after my kids go to bed, because that's when my house is the quietest.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
That's probably one of your questions. Like, when do you do this? Usually it's at
Yes.
night. And so I would finish recording an episode or two and I would come out and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Like, I'm ready to talk to some real people now. Like, let's go. And just
Yes.
having so much, and it just gives me so much energy and so much life. And yeah, so it has been such a blessing for me as well as for my listeners. So I love that.
I listened to several episodes. I absolutely love the podcast. Awesome.
Okay.
So let's talk about your journey as a podcaster a little bit. So when you first got started, was there any kind of obstacles or maybe more of the technical side that you were just like, I don't know what I'm doing?
Oh, 100%. I was like, I know nothing at all about any of this. I had a computer and that was it. Like, I didn't know anything about anything. And so I started listening to podcasts like yours. Yours wasn't out yet, but I started listening to other podcasts that were about podcasting.
Yeah.
And that helped me a ton. And listening to some of the trainings that were in Called Creatives about podcasting. And that helped me a ton. And then even just listening to other podcasts kind of helped me understand the flow of what I liked and all of that. So all of those things were really helpful, but listening to podcasts that told me what to do was really helpful, or kind of even how to think about it, how to strategize, this is what you need, these 3 or 4 things before you start. And, this is how you record a trailer and this is what you're going to do with it.
Right.
And this is, then you need an intro and you need a little outro and you need, somewhere, here's how you do a call to action. And so some of those things, I learned all of that really from listening to other podcasts and then also being trained by listening to other podcasts.
Right. Because it's more than just, I'm going to do a podcast and I've got a mic and I've got a computer and I've got me. And yeah, you need all those things, but you also need to have where you get royalty-free music that's not going to cause a copyright issue. And where do you do this?
What is a podcast host and what is a
like which one do I choose?
Yes. And then how do I do this? Do I have to script everything or do I just go off the cuff? Or lots of things there that I had to learn and figure out. But I found that as I got into it, it wasn't as hard as it seemed just hearing about it.
Right. Exactly. I tell whether it's members of the audience or clients all the time is just start doing it, get comfortable with your mic, figure out what you like, what you don't like, because the first few ones are going to be bad no matter who you are. It doesn't matter. Everybody's kind of like that when they first get started, that you got to kind of put your reps in and get comfortable with all the things. What is some of the advice that you would give to those that are listening that are going, I think 2022 is going to be my year to do this. I'm going to do it. And I feel God calling me to doing a podcast on whatever. What advice do you have for those?
I would say definitely do it and don't overthink it because there are so many pieces you can overthink.
Yes, right.
I have other friends now who are podcasters, and it's so interesting to talk to each of them and hear everybody's different process. And like, I'm a very chill kind of like, hey, you know what? It's going to be fine. Like, I mean,
it's all good. It's all good.
So I kind of tend to go that way. I have some friends who are just like very, very, very detailed and they have this and that and the other thing that they do. And I'm like, that's fine. I think my podcast is fine without that detail. I think I can, like, I like how it sounds. I've gotten good feedback. And so I would just say, like, don't overthink it. There are really great tools out there.
Yeah.
And if you need them, use them. And if you feel like you don't need them, then don't use them.
No. And that's the beauty of podcasting is there's some rules that you really should abide by, like getting a good quality microphone and wearing your headset and all the things I've talked about on all the other episodes before.
Yes.
But, you can make your podcast however you want to make your podcast. You want it an hour, make it an hour. If you want it 22 minutes, make it 22 minutes. It just kind of what's working for you because you have to feel comfortable in
Mhm.
doing what comes naturally to you, as opposed to like if I was to try to do one like Lisa Whittle, for example, it wouldn't be the same type of show
Mhm.
because that's
Mhm.
not me. That's Lisa's style and the way that she likes to do her thing, where I'm a little bit different in the way that I do things. So
Yeah, and I think some of the best advice I ever heard about like how often to do a podcast was they said put one out as often as you have good content
mhm.
and then be consistent about that. So if you're going to have great content every month, then do a monthly one. And
Yes.
if you can put out great content every week, do a weekly one.
Mhm.
You know, some people have a podcast coming out every single day. And I'm like, I could not
Oof.
do that right now.
I couldn't do
I
it
do not
either.
have that ability at this time. As nice as that would be, I don't. And so I'm a once a week girl.
Yeah,
So
me
it's
me
coming out.
too.
Yeah, once a week is good and I can do that. I can keep that up consistently. But I just thought that was such great advice because then it
Yeah.
kind of takes the pressure off
Mhm.
of feeling like, oh, there's this set program. And if you don't follow this exact way, everything's going to fall apart. No, you can still
Right.
have a great impact. And you just have to let your listeners know if this is going to
Mhm.
be every 2 weeks and here's my content. And then they get used to that and they're ready for it.
Yeah, completely agree with that. So on point. Most clients when they come, oh, I got to do a weekly show. No, you do not have to do a weekly show. You want to
Yeah.
do every 2 weeks? That's great. I'd rather you have spectacular content that's on brand, on point, and do it maybe every third Monday, as opposed to trying to do a weekly show. And it's like, that was okay.
Yeah. It's like you want people to be ready for it. And then when they see your podcast come up, they're like, oh, yes.
Right, exactly. But consistency is a key, definitely.
It really is. And consistency is one thing that for me, I knew was going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I was willing, like, sacrifice other things for it.
Mhm.
Like maybe sacrificing a little extra sleep or or not being on social media as much so I could prepare or whatever it was. Because I think that consistency really is a key. I've found that to be really true in my experience and in my
Mhm.
journey.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, I like to do fun questions here on the show.
Yeah.
Some questions that not all podcasters like to ask. Now, I know with 8 children, you probably don't have a lot of time for this, but is there a favorite TV show or movie that you've recently watched that you're like, oh, everybody's got to see this?
I haven't watched a lot recently, but the other night my family pulled out an old Disney movie called The Kid. I don't know if
Remember
you've ever
that
seen that.
one?
I don't know what year it was from, but it's with Bruce Willis and it is such a good movie. My kids
Yes.
had never seen it and so we introduced them to it and I just love that movie so much. So basically Bruce Willis is this really jerky guy. He's an image consultant and he just is full of himself and
Yes.
very horrible, honestly, at the beginning of the
He
movie.
is.
He gets
He's
visited by his 8-year-old self who like
uh-huh.
time travels to him and just he goes on this whole adventure where he's trying to figure out like how to get this kid back to his normal life and trying to figure out like why is he here and just but the thing that's so cool about it is he basically goes through this like whole inner healing scenario
Yeah.
where he goes back into his childhood with
Mhm.
himself as a child. And it sounds weird, but it's so beautifully done.
Yes.
But yeah, so if anybody hasn't seen it, it's just great. And it's just so cool to see him transform from such a horrible person
Uh-huh.
into someone who's like soft and kind by
Yeah.
getting some healing and kind of revisiting some of his childhood wounds. Anyway, it's a
Yes.
really cool
Oh,
movie.
so good. And Disney's
Yeah.
that does such a good job of doing that.
Yeah, it was a
They they,
beautifully
they
done
really do.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it when I was younger. Okay. Is there a product or something that you are recommending to friends like, oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing ever and you've got to get it? Is there something out there right now for you?
Oh man, let me think.
Like a kid product or something for you, for a mom who maybe like, I just need some self-care or something
Okay, I've
like
got
that.
two things. I've got a
Okay.
kid thing and a mom thing.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so the kid thing is this has pretty much changed our lives. You know how when you have kids, there are just cups, cups, cups everywhere.
Yes.
And so about, I don't know, probably 2 years ago, I just was like, forget the cups. I'm so tired of cups. And so I bought a set of stainless steel cups and they all have a different color, like silicone band that goes on the outside of them.
Mm-hmm.
And each of my kids has their own color.
Okay.
And so they all have one cup, and that's their cup that they use all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When it gets dirty, it goes right in the dishwasher and then back on the counter. There's a spot on the counter where they live. And that's their one
that's
cup.
so smart.
Yes, it's
I
wonderful.
love it.
And then my husband and I can use whatever cups we want.
Well,
and
of
the
course.
kids have their own, like we're like, we can go through cups. That's fine. But the kids aren't pulling out like 14 cups each every day. So that's one thing that has been so awesome, is just having everybody have their own particular cup.
I kind of want
a
to
life changer.
I kind of want to do that. And it's just my husband, myself, and my older daughter here. I kind of want to do that,
It's so great. So great. Okay. Then for the mom thing, I got some slippers for Christmas that I love. They are lined with lambskin. So they're like fuzzy, fluffy wool, but it's real wool. And if you have a wool allergy, they won't work. But wool is just the best because it fluctuates. Like it regulates your body temperature or something. So they, like, my feet don't get, they stay nice and warm. They do not get sweaty, and they're just comfortable all the time. And they're leather on the outside and then like fleece, actual wool on the inside. And they're so cozy and comfy for wintertime. But even in the spring and summer, if it's not like a hot place,
right,
they're still comfortable because they kind of adjust to the temperature. So
I think I need that for these Iowa winters.
For sure.
It's just way cold here.
Yes.
Amazon probably, or
actually they are from Amazon. Yeah.
Amazon's got it all, baby.
I know. You just have to make sure that they're real they're called like lambskin or something like that inside.
Well, I'm going to go look for that as soon as we're done here. And so my last question is, what are some of the goals that you have for your podcast this year?
I am really excited about this year. One of my goals is to just continue putting out really relevant content for my listeners, and doing that every week. And then I am building my email list and working on connecting with my email list better, because that hasn't been something I put a lot of time into yet, but I'm going to be working on that. And then I'm actually hoping to release some more content later in the year, possibly in the form of coaching or a course or something like that. So,
that sounds like amazing stuff. I love it.
Yeah, I just love encouraging and inspiring and equipping moms to really just dig in and rejoice and enjoy their motherhood. Not in just kind of a like fluffy, like, oh, it's all so fun, because we have hard days. We have tough times. We're living a real life. Yes. But having children is such a gift. And it really is. God says it is. And it's the truth.
And those years go by fast. The days are long, but the years are fast. My youngest is 20. She's a sophomore in college. And I'm like, where did all this go? I don't remember half of this stuff, but wouldn't trade any of the experiences and all the stuff that I got to with both of my girls, and thoroughly enjoyed being with them every day, well, until they went to school.
Yeah.
I could talk to you all day about all this kind of stuff. So for our listeners out there, where can they connect with you? Where can they find you? All that kind of good stuff.
Oh, that would be great. I am on Instagram at Rejoicing in Motherhood, and that is mostly podcast related things. You can find the Rejoicing in Motherhood podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts. And I also have a website, KirstenVossler.com.
Yes. And so we'll put all that lovely stuff in the show notes today. So Kirsten, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. I truly appreciate it.
Oh, Tammy, this has been so much fun. Thank you.
Oh, that was so good. Oh, I could have talked to her all day. Kirsten is a complete joy. Absolutely love that conversation that we had today. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode today. And I say it all the time, but I really mean it. Women podcasters are my heroes. I believe in each and every one of you. You, my friend, are called for big things. So keep moving forward. Keep investing your time in what you're doing. You're on the right path. I hope that you have a great day, and we will talk again soon. Bye, y'all.